Hey everyone, Draco Magnius here for another episode of Let's Play 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors. In the last episode, we saved Clover from imminent danger that she technically put herself in. And, in this episode, we're gonna see where we are now. Also, I diagnosed, Clover with possible Senpai syndrome. Junpei, Clover, and Lotus leapt out of the laboratory, slamming the door shut behind them. All three collapsed against the wall, breathing heavily. Junpei's heart was pounding in his chest, and his whole body felt weak. He inhaled gulps of clean air. With each one, he could feel his body begin to calm down. All right, let's go. They nodded to each other and started off down the hallway. Before long, they found a few new doors, but all of them were locked. Soon, they had tried all the doors but one. The final door sat in a corner of the hallway. Junpei grabbed the door handle and was about to pull it open when a voice cried out behind him. It was neither Clover nor Lotus, but he recognized it. There was no doubt the voice belonged to, let me guess, June. Jumpy! He spun around. There, at the other end of the hall, Junpei saw human figures running toward them. Yes, human fingers were running toward him. It was scary. 3 of them. June, Santa, and Seven. They stopped short in front of Junpei and his companions, gasping for air. Hey! What are you guys doing here? What? But didn't we didn't... Before he could finish, Clover spoke. Guys, could you come over here? She was standing near the end of a small hallway that branched off to the right. The rest of them ran over to her, curious as to what she'd found. There was something on the wall at the end of the hallway. A map of the ship's interior. It said "Sea Deck" on the upper left corner. Most likely, they assumed it was a map for the floor they were on. Door 7 and Door 8. The map confirmed that they already knew. Both doors eventually led to the hallway where they had found themselves. Okay. So let's take a look at the map before I continue with the dialogue. So, we met up in that corner right there where the arrows meet. If we go further down the hall, there's a couple doors we can go into. Both of them converge at a certain point in that area. However, what doors have we seen so far? 5 and 4, 8, 7, and 3. We haven't seen a door 1 yet. Because there's 9 doors in total, we know that, right? Well, let's start with the doors we haven't seen. We haven't seen a 1 or a 9. I know that to be true for a fact. And like I said, we've seen 5. We've seen 4. 7, 3. We haven't seen a door 6, have we? No. Nor a 1 or a 2. So we're missing doors 1, 2, 6, 8. No, we saw an 8. My bad. So we're missing doors 1, 2, 6, and 9. Which means maybe 2 more passes, or if they feel like giving us all the doors at once... Except they wouldn't, because then there'd be no door 9. We would all go to 9, obviously. Anyway, on with the story. Whoops. In fact... Yeah, isn't that what I said? Till we find that 9 door, Zero ain't gonna split us up. We may get separated for a little while, but we'll see each other again. Otherwise, we can't open door 9. That's how the non-ring game works. Junpei looked at the map of the ship's interior again. Okay. As he looked more closely, his surprise and excitement gave way to weariness. One by one, the others saw what he'd seen. As one, they all moved back toward the door Junpei had only moments ago been ready to open. He pulled the map of the ship's interior off the wall, put it in his pocket, and the others followed. The 6 of them stood in front of the door, arrayed in a semicircle. Santa stepped forward. He took hold of the door and spoke without looking back at the other 5. Ready? I'm gonna open it. They nodded, their silent assent? Nodded their silent assent. Well, whatever. With a deep breath, Santa threw open the door. I'm not sure what assent means. They poured through the doorway and into the room. Even without looking around, each one of them knew where they were. They were just where the map had said they would be. The same room they'd been in not so very long ago. Back to start. So that whole shit about leaving Ace behind meant nothing. We're gonna pick him up again, and we're gonna be in a really awkward situation right now. Oh, hi, Ace. So about leaving you here, we just kind of went full circle, so yeah. The tremendous central hospital with the empty beds from wall to wall. Wop, 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 wop. I see. I believe I understand what you're saying. Oh, he's up. Good. That was an awkward conversation. The 6 of you split into 2 teams and went through doors 7 and 8. You solved the puzzles in the operating room and the laboratory. Oh, so that was the other one, huh? And then met one another in the hallway after opening your respective locked doors. So that's where blank door led! Okay, now I understand why it's blank. Because it's the exit to lead back to here. You know, I feel like my answer would have been more satisfying. You know? And I am curious where door 3 would lead then, if we stayed back with Ace. Wait, one another in hallway after opening respective locked doors. I read that. He looked like anyone might after only just waking up, but it seemed that his brain was working as well as ever. Well, he's a smart guy. He had managed to grasp, summarize, and understand each team's report. Well, it makes sense. It's logical. At any rate, although he should be, considering he should be a bit groggy from sleeping due to a drug, but whatever. At any rate, I feel a bit silly for my little show of altruism. I'm sure you'll be back for me. See? He was right! We did come back! I didn't hope you would come back, but I confess I didn't think you'd be back so soon. Ace shook his head with a rueful smile. Well, we saw each other again, and we ain't dead. So I say that's good enough. I agree with 7. Anyway, I say we get out of this creepy old place. We found the key we need. The key? Ain't that what I said? I'm talking about the Jupiter key. We found it in the operating room. Here. 7 tossed something small and metallic toward Junpei. He caught it and found the object was a key. Well, seems we have another choice. On it, someone had engraved a symbol very similar to a 4. He looked over at June, who nodded back. It had the Jupiter symbol. I'm gonna let you hold on to that, alright? Yeah, got it. Junpei tucked the new key in his pocket. As a group, they now had 3 keys that had not been used. Oh? The Earth key, which had been found in the laboratory. The Saturn key, which had been found in the kitchen. Then why didn't we use that on the Saturn door on the fucking elevator? The Jupiter key, which 7 had just handed to Junpei. Junpei tucked the new keys into his pocket. He is the key keeper. June spoke up. The Jupiter key is supposed to be for the door at the end of that long, straight hallway, right? Yeah. If the map's right, it connects to the central staircase. Then next to the stairs... Wait! They were the first words anyone had heard out of Clover in quite some time. Her face suggested they weren't going to be very happy words. What about door 3? Look, you saw the map, right? It's the same as 7 and 8. I was wondering about 3. It'd just lead us back to the big hospital room. There's no point in seeing what's on the other side of that door. There's his point. At least there is for me. There were tears in her eyes, but she glared at Seven so hard Let me try that again. There were tears in her eyes, but she glared at Seven as hard as she could, just the same. She looked very much like a frightened puppy. There wasn't a man alive who could have resisted those eyes. Seven looked everywhere in the room, except at Clover, and muttered and coughed apologies under his breath. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Snake might be on the other side of door 3. Clover nodded once. Next person to speak was Ace. Very well. I'll be coming with you then. I've had a nice long rest. I think it's time I was up and about again. So Seven, you'll help me, won't you? Huh? Me? Junpei did the calculations quickly in his head. 1 plus 4 plus 7 is 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. It looked like Seven was doing them too. At last, he gave up. Damn. Well, I guess that's how it's gotta be. I'm going with you, huh? Yes, you are. Alright, let's get moving. And so it was decided that Clover, Ace, and Seven would discover what lay beyond door number 3. Huh. Okay, we're heading out. Be careful. Whoa, don't think I'd be hearing that from you, Lotus. Don't let it go to your head. I'd be in trouble if the 3 of you bought it. The rest of us can't open enter 9 door. Ah, the truth comes out. Seven nodded, as if this answer made much more sense, and he pulled the lever on the red. Well, let's see. Let's see if her calculations are correct. Oh, wait, I have to wait for the cutscene. Excuse me. Okay. Now, if you'll excuse me. 5, 6, 8, 7, 174 is gone. 3. Oh, yeah, she's right. With just us, we can't get through door number 9. Hold on. Five, 6, 3, 8, 7. So we actually legitimately need them all to live, right? No. So there's got to be a way to make the digital route. I guess with those numbers, if we split them up correctly, we might be able to get out of 9. We'll have to do the calculations later. Okay. Let's go. The door opened, and Ace, Clover, and Seven jumped through it. 6, 7, 8. After 9 seconds, the door closed noisily. Alright, we should get moving too. Huh? Get moving? Where are we going? Everyone except Lotus seemed rather confused. Well, it would be a waste of time just to sit around, wouldn't it? Let me explain. We do have 3 keys that go to 3 different areas. While they're doing their Room 3 experiment to look for... Well, not experiment. While they are looking through Room 3... for Snake, we have access to the elevator, the area to get to the Earth the Earth door, and the Saturn door. It is totally up to us where we go. Ah, I get it. We're gonna see if we can get anywhere interesting with the Jupiter key. Yes. If we're lucky, we might find Snake. They were at the end of the hallway lined by individual hospital rooms. Oh yeah, I guess that one is the closest door. The Jupiter symbol was engraved on the keyhole. Alright, Junpei, open it if you please. Yeah, on it. Junpei pulled the Jupiter key out of his pocket and slid it into the keyhole. He twisted. With a nice sharp click, he felt the door unlock. Alright, ready guys? Junpei's companions nodded. He nodded back, then slowly and quietly opened the door. But we don't get to see the animation for that door for whatever reason. Great. Inside was exactly what he expected to see from the map of the ship's interior. They were in a tremendous hall, almost like the ballroom, with a massive central staircase. Great. Back to the beginning. You sure this is a good idea? What do you mean? Well, we already searched every inch of this room, didn't we? I'm asking you if there's any reason we came back here. Of course there's a reason. Of course there's a reason. Man, sometimes I can't tell if you're smart or just lucky. Huh? This. Junpei pulled out two things out of his pocket. The Saturn key card and the Earth key. Now, going off of what I know and basic logic, we know that the Earth key actually goes to a door, while the Mercury key goes to the elevator. It would be smarter to look through the door because we'd see if there's anything else we need in those rooms. Granted, it might waste time, but there's also the chance of getting rewarded by other items we might need later. And if we just go into the elevator, we have to decide on not only a floor, but we might run into an area where we need more items that we don't have in that area, and we'll have to backtrack, which will be an even more waste of time. Santa cocked his head to one side, like an inquisitive bird, and looked at them. After several long moments, during which it became apparent that Santa had no idea what the cards meant, card and key, Junpei took pity on him. Don't you remember, Santa? On C deck, where we are now, there was a big elevator behind the stairs, remember? And next to the elevator, there was a card reader with the Saturn symbol on it. And on A deck, on the door to the left, there was a keyhole with the Earth symbol on it, I think. Yep. And then there's the sun door. So the two keys that Jumpy has should let us use the elevator and the door on A deck, huh? Yes, that's right. June smiled, pleased with herself. So did Santa. All right, I got it. Let's get started then. What do you say we split into two teams? Lotus and I will search the Earth one, and you two can search Saturn, all right? Oh, or we could do that. Yeah, that's probably more efficient now that I think about it. Let's split up and search for clues. Sounds good. Junpei handed the Earth key to Santa. They decided that their initial search should be brief, only 10 minutes. They'd meet back near the staircase once they were done. What floor do we go to? Junpei and June headed for the elevators. Sure enough, there was a card reader bolted to the wall to the left of the elevator. He lined up the Saturn key card and swiped it through the reader. The light on the upper left corner blinked to life. Great. Looks like it's working now. Alright, now how do I call the elevator? There was a single button on the right of the elevator door. The button was the upside-down triangle, the universal symbol for down? But wouldn't down lead us into D deck, which would be filled with water? There didn't appear to be an up button. Junpei pushed it. He didn't have much of a choice. Yeah, but D deck should be flooded, so this should be submerging us if we do this. Right? It opened! Look, Jumpy! June's voice was excited, but June could hear a tinge of anxiety. Sweet, it opened! Let's get going. He grinned at June and stepped toward the open door. As he was about to set foot in it, he felt a hand on his arm. Wait! What? I'm not really, oh gosh. Junpei was at something of a loss. What could she possibly be so frightened of? June was probably afraid of being locked up alone with a boy. They could only go down. She was afraid because the only elevator button pointed down. That meant, of course, that the elevator couldn't go any higher than the floor they were on. As he thought about it, Junpei realized he hadn't seen elevators on the A or B decks near the central staircase, all of which meant that the elevator could only convey them to the lower decks. And the floor below the one they were on, D deck, should be completely submerged. That meant... Hey, wait a minute. This elevator came up from somewhere under us, right? Yeah, and it's not filled with water, therefore it must come to a dry area. That thought just occurred to me, too. Well, yes, I guess it did. It didn't open right away after you pressed the button. There was a motor noise like it was moving, and then it opened. Yeah, exactly. Yes? So take a look inside. Junpei jerked his head toward the interior of the elevator. It's not wet at all, is it? The walls and even the floor are totally dry. Oh, you're right, they are. She looked around at the elevator, slightly embarrassed. Well, oh, sorry, that's him. Well, let's test it. Test it? Yeah, watch this. Junpei put one foot in the elevator and bent around the corner of the door until he could see the floor buttons. There were only two, E and C. He pushed the E button and jumped out of the elevator. The door slid shut, and they heard the grinding of the motor as the elevator car moved down. Oh, I see what he's planning. I guess it wouldn't be open on the floor that it was on, so that would be why it's dry. I get it. So if we go to E floor with the elevator, it should open when it reaches its destination. Then when you hit the button, it'll come back up, and if there's water in it, then that's drowned. That floor. A few moments later, they heard the sound of the elevator door grinding open several floors below. Junpei nodded to June and pressed the elevator button again. A few moments later, the elevator returned. Well, let's see. Well, it looks dry still. I guess it's safe. The door slid open just as Junpei had expected. There was no water to be found. Wait, then how is the D deck flooded, but E isn't? Actually, no, that can be easily explained. If, say, the flooding actually happened on the D floor, which it did, and the E floor isn't connected to the water at all, you should be able to go down there, and there will be no problem. Yeah, that makes sense. See? Sorry. Junpei couldn't resist puffing out his chest a little bit. June, however, still looked confused. What does that mean? How can the E deck be safe, but the D deck is full of water? Well, here's what I think. The elevator shaft and E deck must be watertight and separate from wherever the ship's been punctured. Here, let me show you. He pulled out his notebook and pen and sketched a rough illustration. He's basically going to explain what I just did. See? So, this is why the ship hasn't sunk. The shape of the inside keeps it from filling with water. Oh, that was June. My mistake. Yeah, I think that's what's going on. Junpei continued talking as he closed the notebook and slipped it back into his pocket. So I'm going to go down and check it out. You stay here, alright? But... Come on, just do it, alright? He gave June's shoulder a reassuring squeeze, then hopped onto the elevator. He pushed the E button, and the door began to close. June looked worried, her eyes darting back and forth as if she was trying to make a decision when suddenly... I'm coming with you! Huh? At the last possible moment, June dashed forward, turning sideways just in time to slip through the gap between the closing doors. Junpei jammed his fingers against the open button. But it was too late. The door had shut, and he and June were in the elevator, and it was heading down to E deck.